Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Today I'm very excited because as many of you know, I'm a big fan of well-aged ryes. I just love what happens to good rye whiskey over time as it matures in the barrel. And what we have today is a sample sent in, very generously I might add, from Mikey P in our Discord community. Big shout out to Mikey, really appreciate you, brother. But this is the latest Wild Turkey Master's Keep. And he sent me like a full 2 ounces. That's a very generous pour from a bottle that, you know, hard to get your hands on. So I really appreciate that, Mikey. This is the oldest rye whiskey that has ever come out of Wild Turkey. So the oldest age-stated bottle of rye that they've ever put on a shelf anywhere. This one is called Triumph is the name of the bottle. And it's a nod to Eddie Russell's son, sort of a way of honoring him and his love of rye whiskey. So we're gonna get this poured and we'll go through the full routine. We'll nose it, we'll taste it, we'll sip it, we'll share some tasting notes, and ultimately give it a score based on all of those factors as well as the value of the product. So we got that poured, we'll let it open up for a minute, and let's talk about the basics of what we know about this bottle. So the proof on this comes in at it's 52% ABV, so that's 104 proof on this rye. Like I said, 10 years old, and the MSRP for this bottle is $275. It's a pretty pricey bottle. I know it's like a very limited, one time a year Master's Keep comes out, so it's sort of pretty standard for a product like that. 10 years old though, I mean, that's not young, but you think $275 for 10-year-old whiskey. I mean, I've got Old Overholt right here, Old Overholt 10-year cask strength, so higher proof, same age, $100 bottle, $90 bottle right there. So this has got to do something better, in my opinion, if it's going to justify the price tag. But other than that, you're also paying for the story. The bottling is obviously very impressive. It's very well branded. Looks great on a shelf. It's a collector's item as well because obviously it's also much harder to come by. A very small batch. So, you know, as opposed to Old Overholt, which is, I mean, it's cask strength, but I mean, it's much more available than this is. So, quick run through of the write-up on this bottle. It says, each release in the Master's Keep series has been a salute to stories in our history, to other whiskeys we've made, and even to other styles of spirits that I happen to enjoy. Master's Keep Triumph is my tip of the cap to my son, Bruce Russell, newly appointed associate blender at Wild Turkey. Bruce has always had a passion for rye, and in making a Master's Keep for his palate, it felt only right. So this is his way of honoring his son and his son's appreciation of rye whiskey. Let's get in on this though, yeah? On the nose, one of the first things that comes to mind is like a fresh baked apple cinnamon donut. You know, here in West Michigan, come fall, come the autumn time, all the orchards around here, you know, they open up. You can come out, do hay rides, pick your own apples with your family. They got all kinds of attractions. It's just sort of part of the culture around here. But a lot of places will do their own, like homemade apple donuts and apple fritters. This reminds me of those on the nose. You get a little bit of that cinnamon, a sort of a bready, doughy note in there, but then also this wonderful bright fruit that I'm attributing to sort of an apple note on the nose as well. So think of like a cinnamon apple fritter or a cinnamon apple donut on the nose. This is a great scent for sure. And then there's that hallmark rye spearmintiness on here as well. I'm not getting any like caramels or butterscotches on the nose, but obviously this is a rye, it's not bourbon, so it's not too surprising. But very sweet, bright, fruity, and a little bit of that rye mintiness on the nose. All right, let's try it. Cheers. You know, on the palate, very first thing that I think of is like an apple mead. You know, that honey and fruitiness in there. It's really good. Not overly spicy. I mean, there's a little bit of that subtle mint in there, but I feel like this has mellowed out in the barrel quite a bit. It doesn't have those harsh edges. It's a lot softer, more fruity, citrusy. Any kind of spice I'm getting on this is really sort of that oak spice. It's not those minty, spicy notes. It's not hot proof either at just 104. There's a little bit of tannic spice in here, but I feel like that's just 10 years of contact with oak. The finish makes me think of coffee grounds, but it's really mellow. It's not like bold bitterness. It's all very soft. I like that the oak is a part of the process. A lot of times you have sips on things that have a lot of age to them, but that oak is really only a part of the finish, not so much the palate. This is honey, apple, and oak on the palate for sure. A little hint of like those baking spices in there. I think that's attributed to the oak, though. But overall, this is really low-key, very mellow, very fruity. It tastes like something I would want to sip on in the fall next to a campfire. It's very cozy. I really don't know that I could have anything bad to say about this pour, really. I mean, revisiting the nose, I almost get like this apple cider vinegar note as well. But let's say I need to score this. Let's say I got to give this a numerical value per my scale. I think part of it is going to have to be the exclusivity of it, right? It's a collectible item. The branding, the bottling, packaging, beautiful presentation here. And I think that anyone would want to have that on their shelf. And it's a real eye grabber. But in terms of like whiskey you want to drink, you know what I mean? Because that's ultimately, to me, whiskey is made to be drank. It's not made to sit on a shelf, collect dust, and just be like a trophy. I fully intend to finish every bottle or share it with people over time and cycle them in and out. And this is a very drinkable rye whiskey. The only thing that's difficult about it to me is $275. That's pretty tough. There's no way around it, especially when there's other 10-year-old like single barrels and small batch ryes already on the shelf for considerably less, and they're more readily available. But this also gets some points for being really distinct from like the rare breed rye, which is not a bad rye, but this tastes nothing like it to me. I thought, oh, this will just be their standard rye mash bill with a little more age on it. But this has mellowed out quite a bit. There's like none of those nutty notes in here that you often attribute with Wild Turkey products. So I like that it's a Wild Turkey rye that takes us into some different territories that we're not used to with them. I love that apple note, a little bit of cinnamon, that autumn vibe that I'm getting off of this. The honey in there too to give it that sort of a fruity mead quality. Those are great notes, and certainly not what I was expecting out of this pour. So if I'm giving this a score for my scale, I think I'm going to give this an 8.6 because it is excellent rye whiskey. And I don't think anyone would be upset about having a pour of this, even if you're not a huge rye fan. I mean, this isn't bashful about being a rye, but it's also so mellowed out after 10 years that there's nothing offensive about this pour either. So 8.6 is where I'm going to land. That's excellent whiskey. And if you get the chance to buy it, I mean, you probably should, just for the sake of having it, because not a lot of people are going to get their hands on it. So if you do, you can all, even if it's not something you're interested in drinking, it's obviously something that would be great to share with people when they come over to give them a unique experience. Other than that, if you're in whiskey groups, there are people in your whiskey group. I always do this if I see a bottle that I know for a fact someone in my whiskey circles, a friend is really going to want that bottle, and I have access to it. A lot of times I will pick it up, or I'll call and be like, hey, here's what I'm looking at. Pick it up for them. Or you can always do like bottle trades where you're like, oh, I know for a fact that this buddy of mine likes to have all the Master's Keep stuff. You get a chance to get your hands on that bottle. You can get that bottle and then trade it for like 2 bottles that you want. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Wheeling and dealing with your buds. Just looking out for each other, helping each other acquire the things that you know they want. Anyways, 8.6. This was really good. Thank you so much, Mikey. I appreciate your generosity. Thanks for sharing a really generous pour out of your bottle for me. It's very kind to you. If you are one of our Patreon supporters, make sure you check the Patreon lounge. Well, it's the Patreon Premium Lounge in our Discord for the, I think it's $10 and up supporters. I'm going to run a raffle in there because I'm going to do, for my next live stream, I'm going to do a blind, but one of our Patreon supporters is going to select the blind. So the raffle winner is going to have the full list of everything that's open on my shelves and the samples that I've got stockpiled as well that have come in from distilleries and from you guys. And you'll get to pick, I think we're going to do 5 bottles for the blind, and then my wife will pour whatever ones you select, and my job will be sort of test my palate in the live stream. So I'll have to guess type, whether it's like rye, bourbon, Scotch, whatever, American single malt. So we'll guess the type, and then we'll guess the age and the price, and we'll see how I do. Probably will just be you guys laughing at how dumb I am, but it should be a good time nonetheless. Hey, cheers, my friends. Thanks so much for tuning into the video. And if you are a supporter, I really appreciate your kindness. And if this is your first time by the channel, you enjoyed the video, hey, leave a like on it, as that's the best free way to support the content here on YouTube. Cheers! May you live richly and get better with age. And hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.